nerds, what's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm your host, Mike the Birdman, and I'm not alone as I trek through the unusual wastelands that is North America because I'm not quite sure if we're on fire, drowning, or what's going on right now. It's just the summer of 2021, which we will never speak of again. But I'm joined by the man from the prairies himself.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. It's JT from Saskatoon. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. So, as you may or may not know, this week was kind of fun if you're a horror fan, and that was Friday the 13th was this past week, and we're actually going to have an extended review of the new Friday the 13th box set from Paramount Home Entertainment and compare it against the Shout Factory release, which came out last year, which is supposed to be the definitive Jason said. And our analysis may surprise you. So look for that between weird news and the regular news this week. So speaking of Jason, I was watching this with my next door neighbor, Liam, who will be on TWIG Stargate whenever we get that project off the ground. Sometime, I'm going to say it now, after the election in Canada, because I work with some of the federal stuff, so I'm busy. But anyway, point of the matter is, so we're watching Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D from the OG release, not the new one, and we mentioned that in our review. And we're just sitting there talking, shooting the shit, me and Liam, because he's a big horror buff too. And we came to a really weird conclusion about the Friday the 13th franchise. And you know, JT, how the first movie, the villain was Pamela Voorhees, the second through the millionth sequels was Jason himself, from strange man living in the woods to undead super zombie
to the gnarliest cyborg in the history of space.
Yes, exactly. So we got to thinking, and it's kind of hinted at in the meta plot of Friday the 13th. Yeah, that exists. And even in the Friday the 13th video game, they kind of hint at it in the Tommy Jarvis tapes and the Pamela tapes, which are collectibles you could find in the game, which gives you a little bit of the story that happened after number 4 and all the way up to the end of presumably part 9.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're sitting there shooting the shit, and then we pop in Friday the 13th part 4, and something hits us when we start talking about Friday the 13th part 6. And part 6 is my favorite of the franchise.
Oh, you and me both.
Yeah, and we're talking, and I realize the villain of Friday the 13th is not just Jason Voorhees. It's real estate. What the fuck do you mean? So, in part 6, they rename the place Forest Green.
This is correct.
And they're trying to get people to forget about all the crazy kind of murders here that happen. And then in the Tommy Jarvis tapes, I think there's somebody, one of the police detectives who's talked with Tommy since the 84 murders, and a psychiatrist are talking. And in the tapes, he's like, well, everybody knows this place is Crystal Lake. You can rename it anything you want, but people know what this place is known for. And Tommy gets run out of town. He gets committed to all these mental institutions, and eventually he starts up a conspiracy blog, and eventually he gets locked into Weston Hills from Nightmare on Elm Street, which is kind of a neat way to bring that continuity to Freddy versus Jason, I guess.
Yeah. Set the hook, so to speak.
So I got to thinking, so in Freddy versus Jason, there's a talk between the police guy and some sheriff dude, and they say, don't say his goddamn name. Why? People want to forget that maniac was here so many years ago and killed all those kids. Now he's referring to Freddy. And I got to thinking, in Crystal Lake / Forest Green, is there a section of the police budget? Again, looking back at my time as a court, I used to follow the crime beat and city hall beats when I did stuff for Rogers Owen Sound. So I understand municipal politics. And I got to thinking, so you're telling me in the Jason universe, there's a section of the police budget there's a section in the municipal budget, and there are meetings that happen probably on the regular. How do we keep Jason out of the news? How do we deal with survivors slash witnesses? How do we cover this up with the medical community, the crime community, which, would be like the FBI would no doubt be involved. And once again, refer to part 9 when Jason gets blown the hell. So obviously there are talks going on. People know about this. Information is being suppressed. Sorry.
Well, no, I'm just saying I love all that. No, so basically what Mike is suggesting, folks, is that there is an X-Files level fucking conspiracy involving the municipality of Forest Green, Crystal Lake, whatever. And my God, there's no way there couldn't be. I mean,
yeah, it's weird when you think about it.
If the cigarette smoking man from X-Files isn't sitting in the background at every meeting, I would be very fucking surprised.
Well, yeah, like it's crazy because you look at let's just lump all the serial killers in these movies, the slasher villains, we'll call them. So Crystal Lake covers it up. Springwood covers it up. I'm pretty sure Haddonfield from Halloween covers it up. So somewhere there is a black budget that's supposed to suppress and keep things on the DL.
No, not even think about it. Okay, you've read the Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, like the 2 volumes of that. Okay. The fucking shield force that shows up to take Jason in the Necronomicon from Crystal Lake. They're behind all of this. You can weave all those movies together and have like this shield, like Hydra-esque organization trying to because like these killers that won't stay dead. Like, my God, they're Area 51's got, you used like a Strive to Survive on Terrible Warriors a few years ago. Like, it all works.
Yeah, like I said,
my mind is blown. Now,
horror movies are fun.
Yeah, and just to kind of dovetail on that for just a moment, my headcanon for excluding Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, my headcanon for the original movies, everything before Rob Zombie took over, and I really like the first one, the second one's kind of meh, and I still haven't watched the new Halloween, but except for the original franchise, except for part 3, all happen. And this is how it works for me. Now, everyone complains about how Jamie Lee Curtis, why would she just leave her daughter and, for like 4, 5, and 6? Like, because she's fucking traumatized from the Shape coming to town trying to kill her, right? Mm-hmm. So she has her baby, fakes her death, and GTFOs to California, where she becomes the headmistress at that private school that Josh Hartnett goes to when she has that boy out there. Why would she pay attention to anything happen in Haddonfield? It could all still happen.
Yeah, and there's also a possibility, it's not a very nice one, maybe Jamie Lee Curtis just isn't a very nice person in the movie. Like, Laurie Strode's character could just be a not nice person. Yeah, Haddonfield fucked her up and traumatized her. She's leaving, and it doesn't matter who she leaves behind.
Well, I mean, she's traumatized. I mean, I always thought, and maybe it's virtue, it's Jamie Lee Curtis, because God, I want to just hug that woman and say thank you for everything you've done. But no, like, she GTFOs to California, has that life out there. All the other movies still happen, even that batshit insane Cult of Thorn stuff from part 6, because did you notice how many horror movie franchises had the 3-part interquel trilogies in the 80s? Yep. So yeah, I think that, and it works. I mean, it's just a thought experiment. It doesn't have to make sense, because none of these movies make sense. Now, I think I found my new favorite Friday the 13th meme to share on Friday the 13th. This is a shot of Jason where he turns to the camera holding the fence post from the beginning of part 6, and it says, "The older I get, the more I understand this man."
Now, speaking of Jason, one last time before we move on with us. So finally, Friday morning comes. Friday the 13th. I'm preparing production. I've recorded my review with Alex, and me and Liam and Alex have watched a fair chunk of Friday over the last week. So my friend Liam comes over for lunch because he lives next door, and I hear a knock at the door. I'm thinking, okay, well, come on in. I start to hear the Jason music being played over a Bluetooth speaker. I'm thinking, okay, that's funny and fucked up, but all right. And my friend Liam, he's a very tall man. He's a very tall, we call him the mountain man. And he comes dressed in a full Jason costume. He has a Freddy versus Jason mask that's been weathered. It's got blood on it. And my friend Liam, he collects knives. Like, I'm talking, this guy puts fucking sword masters to shame. So he also collects iconic movie weapons like Jason's. So he has the legit machete from 1984's Friday the 13th, Part 4. And it's a very specific model. And so he comes around the corner in the Jason mask. And I'm like, holy shit. And just for just half a second, I'm like, what the fuck? And it was really, really, really cool. And then later that day, he has the Jason mask. It's on my bed. I'm like admiring it because that's where I spend most of my day. And he's like, hey, Mike, I know you've had a rough couple of weeks. I know you've had a rough couple of months. Here's something to cheer you up. And he gives me the Jason mask.
Oh, dude.
Oh, yeah. And to even make it even better, he got this glass head to put the Jason mask on, and it lights up. I posted a video of it.
I saw
on
that
Facebook.
picture you posted on Facebook, man. That's sweet.
Yeah, that was really cool. So I've really got some really supportive friends and fans. I've been talking about some other stuff, which I'll probably share for next week because this has gone on long enough.
Yeah.
So JT, what have you been doing very quickly for the last week?
Well, I found my own nemesis of a sort. Not quite on the level of Don Cheadle versus Mike the Birdman, but I hate Windows 7. I mean, Windows 10. I'll explain. I bought a Acer laptop, Acer Aspire 3 laptop of 2.5 years ago at this point. And I created a recovery USB drive when I first got it, in case something happens. And a few months ago, because I was bored and it was kind of slowing down, and I redid my laptop, like just reset everything, wiped the drive, reinstalled all my apps. And then I got a hair up my butt about, I still have my Windows 7. I know it's not actively supported anymore, but Windows 10 is other little processes are pissing me off. There have been 2 or 3 programs that, for whatever reason, in the last major update, were labeled malicious code by Microsoft, which is nothing in and of itself. You put it on a safe list if you have a particular program that's listed as such, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 2 of my favorite programs that I use quite consistently on my laptop, not only did they get labeled malicious, they got fucking uninstalled.
Oh.
Like somewhere between turning it off a couple of days ago and turning it back on, and it was like on Friday, my laptop, I use Music Bee for my music folder or music player, and a program that shall not be named because we do not advocate internet piracy on this program. Both were uninstalled, and not only were they both uninstalled, the installers, which I just left in the downloads folder, were deleted.
Oh.
So I've gotten, I took my Windows 7 install disk, I created a bootable USB drive with one of the spares I have. I go to through the recovery process in my Windows 10 laptop, boot from, or reset hard drive, boot from USB. So when you hit F2 or F1, whatever, you get into the BIOS. I go to the boot menu. It doesn't act, Windows 10, after this most recent update where you get some of the flavor of Windows 11 that's coming down the pipe, it doesn't have an option to boot from USB anymore, because this secure boot bullshit in Windows has been enabled. And I went through that trouble to disable the secure boot, and it still won't boot from the flash drive. And I want to cry because I just want to use my laptop the way I want to use it.
Okay.
And then one of my coworkers decided to quit in the middle of the week. So that's not cool because he literally just texted my boss and say, yeah, I'm done. I'm not going to come in anymore, which is a dick move, which resulted in me getting, well, about more hours than I would know what to do with this week, which is great because I'll get that money and that's nice. But on the other hand, what's sleep? You
Yeah,
know?
I know
So
that feeling all too well.
yeah, other than that, it's been good. I mean, you mentioned Friday the 13th. I did my annual, biannual, however many times you have Friday the 13th. I always watch part 6 on Friday the 13th because it's my favorite. And just for snits and wiggles, I found a YouTube channel that had some pretty decent DVD rips of the Friday the 13th, the series, which in no way is actually connected to the Friday the 13th franchise, folks. It's more of a I forget what's the Monkey's Paw episode of Treehouse of Horror. It's like these two cousins inherit a curio shop from their deceased uncle who made a deal with the devil, and now they have to try and recollect all the cursed knickknacks that he sold out of this place.
Mm-hmm.
I watched a few episodes of that, and all in all, I had a pretty good Friday.
That's good. That is good to hear. So, speaking of Good Fridays, we will be talking a little bit more about the Friday the 13th box set, even though we've rambled on about it for a little bit. So, we have some stuff. Now, this review was supposed to come out a couple weeks ago, but just due to some scheduling, it got lost between the digital couch cushions. So, apologize our dust, brush it off, 5-second rule, and you'll live with it. We're going to take a look at Masters of the Universe Revelation, available exclusively on Netflix. We're also going to take a look at the Friday the 13th box set that was recently released by Paramount Home Entertainment. And a returning segment is coming back to the show. Alex came over a few weeks ago and we recorded a bunch of Satan's Pantry. So we have survived the pandemic. We are opening our doors once again to Hell's very own food truck. What's there? I don't know. It's probably fucking gross. You're going to listen to us gag. It's going to be fun. So anyway, guys, we're going to take a small break here, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. Once again, I've been Mike the Birdman. He's been JT. So let's prepare to go to the lands of Eternia. Maybe I'll go kick the shit out of Orko. This is Netflix's Masters of the Universe Revelation.
Time after time, you try to take this castle, but you will never succeed, Skeletor.
Call your champion.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here, and I'm here to talk to you about something kind of special that we had a chance to check out over the last couple of days, and now you can check it out over on Netflix.com. We're going to be talking about Masters of the Universe Revelation. This is the new He-Man series, executive produced and written by Kevin Smith, with voices like Mark Hamill as Skeletor, Sarah Michelle Gellar as Teela, but also Dietrich Bader's like King Randor, Tony Todd as Scareglow, and Kevin Conroy, aka Batman, I think he plays Merman, and a bunch of other voices that you will recognize, including Jay Muse as Stinkor, which was kind of cool. So, okay, so for those of you that have read the online discourse over the last few days, I'm not going to go into super spoilers for this, but I will address some of it as non-spoilery as I can. This series changes the status quo. This is a sequel to the original Filmation series that was out in the early 80s and kind of sets up what happens to the Sword of Power after a major shift in the Eternian power happens. Basically, you get to see Teela come into her own as she's about to be crowned a new man-at-arms for King Randor and Marlene. And then, obviously, shit hits the fan. But over its 5 episodes, it has some really genuinely good character moments. Like, this made Orko, like, genuinely likable. Lena Headey plays Evil Lynn. And there's a great one-line joke she throws in there where her and Orko are talking. And Orko says, "Can I ask you a personal question?" And she's like, "Yes, I added the evil part myself. I didn't want to be just Lynn," or something along those lines. And it's pretty funny. And there's other moments in there with Henry Rollins as Triclops, which is great. That's another thing, too. This series is surprisingly violent. The amount of people that actually legitimately die or get maimed is quite impressive. I was like, holy shit, this is not for kids. but it doesn't talk down to you, and that's what I kind of like about this. I mean, obviously Kevin Smith and others like Mark Hamill, who voices Skeletor, have come out online in the past couple days saying, hey, we didn't ruin your childhoods, please fuck off or grow up or something along those lines. If you're willing to go into this as a new fan who wants to see something different, this is a really good Netflix series. I would argue this is better than the Transformers War for Cybertron series that Netflix is doing. I think the voice cast here definitely got a lot more money than they did, that's for sure. But even the quality of the animation, there's some wonderful updates to some visual designs here. It looks cool. It's like modern anime. It's kind of reminds me of the same animation style, just a little more stylized than what Avatar: The Last Airbender looks like. I know someone will say, no, you're wrong, but I don't care. For 5 episodes, this is worth your time. And to see where this is going to go next, I am tremendously curious to see what Kevin Smith and his team are going to do. I would like to see this continue beyond the next set of episodes, which presumably will come out later on this year. I know Kevin Smith has said they just finished the mixes on episodes 8 and 10 for score and voicing and some other things. So things are moving along at a pretty good pace. I imagine we'll see it, if not this year, maybe very early next year. Who knows? But it looks neat. So I have to recommend He-Man, Masters of the Universe, Revelation. Totally worth your time, and you should check it out.
Whether you serve Grayskull or Snake Mountain, we all gotta work together now. Or else Eternia dies.
The Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France.
Gossip, rumors, panic in the streets. We're lucky.
This Week in Geek.
Hello! I'm in a weird mood. That's okay. We are back here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm joined by JT from Saskatoon because, hey, at least now you have a city if you ever want to stalk and, do something terrible to them. Anyway, I'm Mike. I'm the Birdman. Let's talk about the things that happened around the world this past week. And some big news, at least to me, and hopefully JT agrees with me. So this story comes courtesy of comicbook.com. Idris Elba has been cast in Sonic the Hedgehog 2 as Knuckles. The Suicide Squad actor Idris Elba has confirmed that he will be playing the role of Knuckles the Echidna in Paramount's Sonic the Hedgehog 2. The actor revealed the news in a post on Twitter showcasing Knuckles' iconic gloves with the simple caption, "Knock, knock." Elba seems to be a terrific option for the character and one that should please a lot of Sonic fans. At this time, very little is known about the movie, but Knuckles will be joined by Miles Tails Prower, sorry, sometimes that name kind of trips me up, who appeared at the end of the first movie in a post-credit scene. Knuckles started as an enemy of Sonic before eventually becoming an ally. Then you can see the picture on Twitter. It's really easy to find. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 will be directed by Jeff Fowler, who will see the return of Ben Schwartz as Sonic, Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, James Marsden as Tom Wachowski, and Tika Sumpter as Maggie Wachowski, Wachowski. At this time, there has been no confirmation on a voice actor for Tails. The character was voiced in the first film by Colleen O'Shaughnessy, who had previously voiced Tails in several Sonic video games with Sega. O'Shaughnessy was the only voice actor from the games to play a role in the first film, but it is unclear whether she'll return for the sequel. Knuckles first appeared in Sonic 3, released for the Sega Genesis in 1994. Since then, the character has become a major staple of the games and other Sonic media. Knuckles even got a starring role in his own star of his own just a year later in 1995's Knuckles Chaotix, which was released for the Sega 32X platform. The character's presence in film was a poorly kept secret, and a tribe of Echidna made a brief appearance in the first film. It is unknown whether Knuckles will have some direct connection to those characters, but fans won't have to wait too much longer to find it, as Sonic the Hedgehog 2 will release April 8th, 2022. That's fantastic casting.
Oh yeah, I mean, when I first saw that, the first thing I thought of was I forget the character name, but that water buffalo he voiced in Zootopia.
Mm-hmm.
And you can hear in his voice, like especially that bit at the end where he says, Judy and Nick, and he's like, just kidding. Like, you could hear it in his voice. And that dude is an absolute delight in pretty much everything I've seen him in.
I haven't seen him in a lot. I first became familiar with him because of Pacific Rim a couple years ago, which everybody knows the line, "We are canceling the apocalypse." And he has this very distinct way of speaking, this very distinct rhythm to his voice.
Yeah.
I find.
Well, especially as Stacker Pentecost. No, I first saw Idris Elba where I discovered the BBC like detective
Luther,
series
right?
Luther.
Yeah.
And I saw him there. He was Rock in the Losers film in 2010 with Papa Winchester, and he hadn't done Captain America just yet, so he was still Johnny Storm in my eyes, Chris Evans. He was a lot of fun in that, and I've seen him here, there, and everywhere. I'm excited for this. I love the first Sonic film. Like, that movie was way better than it had any right to be, especially with Ben Schwartz as voicing Sonic. And say what you will about James Marsden, that dude has a gift for acting opposite imaginary characters. Because he did like what it was one Peter Rabbit, or the one was it Hop?
Hop, yeah.
Yeah, the one where Russell Brand voiced the son of the Easter Bunny. Like, and he's just like that dude, James Marsden. He's comfort food as far as I'm concerned. Is acting. Like, it's not the greatest. He's just fun.
One of the roles I really liked James Marsden in, or James. I liked him in the Hairspray remake from 2008.
That, well, yeah,
I thought
that
it was
a good
wonderful.
One.
I love that movie.
I forget the name of it. It's something the D Train. It's this movie he did with Jonah Hill, where he and Jonah Hill went to high school together years ago, and James Marsden's characters become like this rock star or a movie star or something like that. And it's like Jonah Hill's trying to get him to come to their high school reunion, something like that. I've seen it a couple of times. I just had a lot of fun with it. And of course, national treasure, Jim goddamn Carrey as Dr. Robotnik.
Yep.
That was the one that was like
that was
Carl
inspired
Urban.
casting.
Yeah, no, that was inspired casting, but that was the one I was worried the most about in that first film, like Carl Urban playing Bones McCoy in the Abrams verse Star Trek movies. But as soon as you see him talking about space is disease and silence wrapped in death, and he does those bug eyes the way DeForest, I was like, oh dear God. And it's the same thing with Carrie. Like that whole scene, Agent Stone, the doctor thinks you're basic. Like, he just had this incredible rhythm in his performance. So
like, he's got this energy, and he was the role I was most worried about being cast, because Carrie hasn't had a bona fide hit in a number of years. And I got the thing, is he going to take it not seriously? Are we going to get another Dennis Hopper as King Koopa, or Robert Patrick as the Shadow Lord from Double Dragon? I didn't know what to expect.
Oh, okay, first of all, you put some respect on his name when you talk about the Shadow King, my friend. That movie is goddamn gold. Fried gold, but deep. That's a slice of deep fried gold. But no, Carrie was great. And I can't wait to see how he goes up against, Tom and Sonic again. And I got to say, Ben Schwartz, have you ever watched Randy Cunningham, Ninth Grade Ninja?
I have never even heard of this.
Okay, look that up after we're done here. It ran for 2 seasons on Disney XD, and that dude is a joy to, when he does a cartoon, he really gets into it. It's so much fun. And yeah, I can't wait for the sequel. I'm not putting too much on Idris Elba's performance right now, and just saying Travis Willingham from Critical Role, he voiced Knuckles in the Sonic Boom cartoon series, and that was pretty good, so we'll see what happens.
Yep, we will see. So look forward to that in theaters, hopefully, April 8th, 2022. So this is some pretty big news. This broke earlier this week. According to Kotaku.com and several other major outlets have confirmed this, Sony now owns anime site Crunchyroll. Funimation wants to create a unified anime subscription experience as soon as possible. Having been first reported back in October 2020, then begun in December 2020, Sony's billion-dollar purchase of anime streaming site Crunchyroll has now been completed. Sony's Funimation announced the finalization of the deal earlier today in a press release, with the final purchase price being a whopping $1.175 billion. It's claimed Crunchyroll has 120 million registered users across more than 200 countries, and the deal means Sony now owns all of Crunchyroll's offerings and services, from its anime streaming service to events to merch to video games. So what does this mean to users rather than just shareholders? Plan for what Sony actually wants to do with all this anime is still pretty vague, and the information on pricing changes or licensing agreements are likely a long way off. One thing Sony did say, though, that it plans to create a unified anime subscription service as soon as possible. So I'm going to read from the press release here as soon as this pop-up goes away. We are very excited to welcome Crunchyroll to the Sony Group, said Kenshiro Yoshida, Chairman, President, and CEO of Sony Group Corporation. Anime is a rapidly growing medium that enthralls and inspires emotion among audiences around the globe. The alignment of Crunchyroll and Funimation will enable us to get even closer to the creators and fans who are the heart of the anime community. We look forward to delivering even more outstanding entertainment that fills the world with emotion through anime. Crunchyroll adds tremendous value to Sony's existing anime businesses, including Funimation and our terrific partners at Aniplex and Sony Music Entertainment Japan, said Tony Venskira, can't pronounce it, Chairman and CEO of Sony Pictures Entertainment. With Crunchyroll and Funimation, we are committed to creating the ultimate anime experience for fans and presenting a unique opportunity for our key partners, publishers, and immensely talented creators to continue to deliver their masterful content to audiences around the world. With the addition of Crunchyroll, we have an unprecedented opportunity to serve anime fans like never before, deliver the anime experience across any platform they choose, from theatrical, events, home entertainment, games, streaming, linear TV, everywhere and every way fans want to experience their anime. Our goal is to create a unified anime subscription service as soon as possible. Funimation itself was only bought by Sony back in 2017 for $1.49 million. Now that Sony owns both it and Crunchyroll, it'll be interesting to see just how much of a unified anime subscription service they can offer, considering the present and popularity of services like Netflix and HBO Max. They stand, in my opinion, to do something tremendous with this, to have Funimation and Crunchyroll combined into one app or site or whatever. I just hope it's better than the app that's currently on Roku, and their website can be a disaster at times, but Funimation's streaming for the most part works. Crunchyroll, I was subbed for about half a year, didn't watch a lot on there because I don't watch a lot of subtitled anime. I have in the past, but as I've gotten older, I've drifted from it. So yay, I'm not a weeb or something. I don't know. So I'm hoping, because I think Crunchyroll was the only place you could get a lot of the Gundam series.
Yeah, I think that was the place. I've never subscribed to an anime streaming service like this. Like, I thought about it, like, I got my Netflix. If we could get Disney Plus in a way that any way that I could possibly afford it, I'd be on that, and I'd be watching nothing but like the old school animated shorts from like way from the 30s and 40s. But I mean, two things popped to mind reading this. One, if depending on what once they get to figuring out, the licensing and the price changes and everything, like they mentioned in the article, I might take a shot at this, because I really drift away. Aside from like some comic book or superhero based TV programming, I don't watch a lot of network TV anymore. It's a lot more Netflix than anything, and I do love watching anime. One of these days I will commit, and I've got a bad habit of getting 4 or 5 episodes into a series and then not watching it again for months at a time. So I'll finally finish like the half dozen or so series I've started in the last year. This might, depending on what the pricing is, I might take a stab at this. Now, we know it's Sony owns this, and they without being too gross, cream themselves on a constant basis at the thoughts of creating some sort of interconnected film movie universe.
Well, I am surprised Sony doesn't offer a service like HBO Max or like
Yeah.
Netflix
Yeah.
or even Paramount Plus. The problem is getting this service in Canada is, at least with us and a lot of live action stuff, it's licensing agreements. That's why we don't have Peacock. That's why we don't have Hulu.
Yeah.
Half of it's licensed to Rogers or Crave.
But what I was going to get at there is, like, they, they're trying the not Marvel Cinematic Universe Spideyverse that they're desperately trying to build with, Morbius and the Venom franchise.
It's not going to happen.
No, well, I mean, it may or it may not happen, but I mean, with anime, I guarantee within the next 5 years, we're going to look at some of the more popular anime that Sony has access to now through this. I guarantee you they're going to take a stab at a Gundam movie. Mark my words, they will roll those bones.
I think, well, there was a story this week. I cut it for time, but they're actively developing a My Hero Academia movie. And that makes sense. I mean, it's superheroes, it's anime, popular, like peanut butter and jelly. They go together. I've watched 2 episodes of My Hero. I think it's okay. I would like to watch more. I just have to find time in my life to do so. But yeah, I mean, one thing me and Alex had speculated before, and I wonder what the coincidence of the timing. I wonder if they're just going to roll Crunchyroll and Funimation into a PlayStation Plus subscription, and it will release on the PlayStation console's release date anniversary. If I had to predict based on pure speculation and fairy dust, that's what I think is likely to happen. But again, licensing agreement, marketing, does this transfer to this medium? There's a lot of legal bullshit to go through first. So I'm not sure whether it's going to happen, but if I was PlayStation, that's what I would do, because those numbers look amazing to shareholders. Say, hey, we have 127 million people. I think that's what the article said. But hey, now they're all signed up through PlayStation Plus. That number just quadrupled. And that's active users kind of paying in. So it's kind of like, I was about to say, it's kind of like how Microsoft did the big gamble with like Game Pass, and you get this tremendous value for like an extra $2 or $3 a month. If Sony increases the cost of PlayStation Plus, and I think it's coming anyway, for an extra few bucks a month, you get this. That's amazing. And as long as you're in a region that allows you to access it, cool. So in.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just looking forward to, like, whatever Sony takes a stab at. Like, it might be a little blasphemous to say I like the Ghost in the Shell movie that came out a few years ago.
I still haven't seen it, and it's on my shelf.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, the original film is the best, but just there was that honest attempt at trying to accurately translate the imagery of the original film in that. So maybe like you said with the My Hero, or like I said with potentially a Gundam series, hopefully it won't suck.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. Now, speaking of things that suck, I am so glad I don't work at Activision right now. So this one comes courtesy of website charlieintel.com, your biggest source of Call of Duty news on the web, and one I follow frequently on Twitter. So Astro Gaming and the U.S. Army have ended sponsorship of Call of Duty League amid lawsuit controversy. The Call of Duty League has lost one of its longtime sponsors just before the biggest CDL event of the year, which is next weekend. I will be sure to be following it online because that's what I do. So Activision Blizzard esports division appears to be taking the biggest impact from external partners over the harassment lawsuit, with sponsors opting out of partnerships with the Call of Duty League and Overwatch League. The latest sponsor to end its relations with the Call of Duty League is Astro Gaming and now the U.S. Army. Astro's gaming logo has vanished from the Call of Duty League site, along with the U.S. Army logo. These two logos used to appear to the left of the Zenny Gaming logo. Here's a look at the new sponsorship on the site with the Zenny Gaming, Scuff, Game Fuel, and USA still partners. So this was updated on Friday. And they say, after we posted the article, the logo sponsorship section of the Call of Duty Web League site was updated yet again to remove the U.S. Army logo. The CDL now has only 4 sponsors left as CDL Champs approaches, which is next weekend. Astro Gaming was a longtime sponsor of Call of Duty esports dating back to its early days. The company was the official headset sponsor of the Call of Duty League and Call of Duty Challengers. Per Activision's initial announcement of the CDL back in 2020, Astro Gaming extends its sponsorship of Call of Duty esports through its 2022 season. Instead, the sponsorship has ended just before the CDL's biggest event of the year, Call of Duty League Championships. The championship event will take place August 19th to 22nd at the Galen Center in Los Angeles. The U.S. Army started its sponsorship with the CDL with its inaugural season in 2020. The U.S. Army was the presenting sponsor of all schedule assets related to the CDL site. Their logo has now been completely removed from the site. Activision Blizzard has declined to comment. Astro had in broadcast segments for the Call of Duty League included the main Astro game Listen In, allowing fans to hear team comms during intense moments of matches. Astro was also the presenting sponsor of the Call of Duty MVP Award, which was awarded at the end of the championships event. Since the partnership has ended as early as this week, the CDL's MVP page no longer shows the Astro Gaming logo. The site before the 10th, there's just a couple of kind of logo changes. Astro and the U.S. Army are the two latest sponsors to drop this after T-Mobile distanced themselves a few weeks ago. Astro's Gaming partnered with the CDL to sell custom-designed CDL team headsets on their website. That collection has been delisted from the site. Fuck, I really wanted a Toronto Ultra headset. Well, I guess that's not happening. The Call of Duty League is not only the Activision League facing backlash. The company's Overwatch League has lost 5 sponsors over the last 2 weeks, as we discussed last week, including Coke, State Farm, IBM, Kellogg's, and more. The sponsorship drops as Activision Blizzard is being sued by the state of California for sexual harassment and diversity inequity across the company, with many instances coming out of Blizzard's side. Activision Blizzard responded to the suit of Blizzard President J. Allen Brack resigning and putting Jen O'Neill and Mike Ybarra as co-leaders of Blizzard. The company still faces intense pressure from employees to change some of the practices, like the removal of arbitration clauses and changes to the law firm that is investigating the allegations at the company. So far, Activision Blizzard executives have not met their demands. We'll continue to keep everyone updated as the information on the lawsuit and sponsorships happen. Now, I did see something. There was a group that represents shareholders, and they called Blizzard's response inadequate. They basically called out the biggest company, and they said, the law firm you hired has a history of investigation, but it never actually helps people unless they're rich. So what are you going to do? And as far as I understand, Activision has not responded. So fucking yikes to lose big sponsors before your biggest COD champs, in-person COD champs, since the pandemic, because there was Dallas a couple weeks ago, and there were people there on Championship Sunday. Now that's when the lawsuit was just coming out. So I wonder what's going to happen now. And if you're into the COD community, Vanguard has been leaking all week. The Call of Duty accounts are finally starting to talk again. And I don't think it's a smart idea to release something right now. But at the same time, discs have to get printed. Marketing things still have to happen. Like, there's so many moving parts. You don't know at what point the machine breaks down. Like, is some lowly dude in marketing going to lose his job because of X happened? But obviously terrible things have happened and people got to pay for it. And now that big companies are saying, wow, you people are garbage, we're not dealing with you anymore, maybe that'll be enough to change the board of directors at Activision and Blizzard. I'm not holding my breath. It'll be a cold day in hell before Bobby Kotick takes the long walk down the hallway with the plant hanging out of his cardboard box as he cleans out his office with his $10 million golden parachute, I'm sure.
Yeah. Like when you're talking there about how people, like, you're not doing enough. Now, obviously way more has to be done than ever before. Like, you know, the sexual harassment and the inequality and diversity. It's just not devil's advocate. It's like when people say you're not doing enough, you have to admit that some of these people, like when they say you're not doing enough and they're pointing that finger, at least half of those people wouldn't be happy until like everything was set on fire and burnt to the ground and the earth was salted. Because to quote Alfred from the Dark Knight trilogy, some people just want to watch the world burn. But they're entirely right in calling that, because like not enough has been done. Because, you know, it's just maddening that they're like, I've seen people arguing about this the last couple of weeks since all this started, like in Facebook chats. And, you know, I like to torture myself and read the comments section in articles on some websites because, well, I'm a masochist. And there are people arguing for the companies and there are people arguing against the companies. Could you just agree that shit needs to change, guys? Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Sterling, I don't know what their proper pronouns are, so I'm just going to say the YouTube personality Sterling, you know who I'm talking about, Stephanie Sterling, has basically said it like this, and I don't disagree with it. You have to cut the rot out. You have to burn it out. You can't just remove a little thing and hope it goes away. There has to be massive changes from the top down. Some person can't just be sacrificed to the wolves to appease the people. And the guys in the lawsuit, unless they've got like criminal defense lawyers who like defended Nixon and Trump, you're likely going to see some kind of retribution. I hope. But it's going to get messy. And there's part of the gaming community for COD. Some of them don't care. Some of them care a lot. I see some really good responses to tweets on Charlie Intel, which is a very popular COD account. People saying, well, some people just genuinely don't know what the hell's going on. So I don't know. Either way, I hope this gets dealt with sooner as opposed to later. There's not a whole lot we can really say about it that hasn't already been said. So our final story this week comes to us courtesy of superherohype.com. Noah Hawley's Alien TV series targets a 2023 premiere on FX. For the first time in the 40-year history of the franchise, the Aliens universe is making the jump to TV with Fargo and Legion creator Noah Hawley at the helm. There have been a few vague updates about the upcoming FX series since it was announced last winter, but during a TCA presentation held earlier today, network boss John Landgraf offered yet another progress report on the Xenomorph's small screen debut. Landgraf, via Collider, acknowledged that the series is a massive undertaking, especially given the Alien film's rabid fan base. Regardless, he has confidence in Hawley's abilities as a showrunner, and if everything works out, the show could premiere in 2 years. It's a really big world-building exercise, says Landgraf. Noah, with support from the original Alien director Ridley Scott's production company Scott Free, is certainly up to it. But you're talking about designing and building sets, and the world building is huge. We're well into it. We're actually moving apace. You know, I have optimism. For example, this show may well roll out in 2023. Probably will roll out in 2023, but we want to get it right. Hawley's series will be the first Alien story to take place on Earth, so we can expect it to be very grounded. However, Landgraf promises the show will honor everything that came before, mixing the best parts of the franchise's first 2 installments. I think it was a very conscious of the fact that there's a cinematic universe, added Landgraf, and while that has some flexibility, that the aesthetic was established by Ridley Scott and continued by James Cameron is a part of that universe. I'm very excited for this. Obviously, I'm a huge Aliens fan. Alien more than Aliens, if I had to pick. And the fact that it's going to be on a TV series set on Earth, for me, it's all about knowing when in the canonical timeline this happens. But then again, I'm a dork for that sort of thing. Likely, if they are smart, they will set it after the events of LV-426 or after Fiona 161, which in the role-playing game done by Free League Publishing, which, by the way, I'm doing a review of Aliens Colonial Marines probably this week actually. Um, and Aliens Elite Fire Team set it before Alien Resurrection because obviously Ripley is dead, but still have the Marines. So I know that's going to be a big deal. This way, you open up the possibility if they want to go to LV 426 for a season finale, they can do that. Xenomorphs could very well have been smuggled out of like Hadley's Hope before the movie, before Aliens happened. Like they could have sent samples back from the surface and nobody knew about it because I'm sure there's Wayland Yutani goons all over the place.
What's this? 6 cases of soda crackers? Are you sure? Oh yeah, everyone's got an upset stomach on Earth.
Yeah, exactly. So there's so many things they could do with this, and because the Aliens universe has always been about the evils of capitalism, the evils of corporations and private militaries, there's a lot of politics in Aliens, and I think it could be a really, really, really good show. There was even one story, I remember me and Alex were talking about this. It might have been on a Twig podcast or something, but I remember pitching the idea for the Alien TV show. Set it on a frontier world somewhere in the middle out there. They find more engineer ruins. They find an egg or something, and it's a race between the USMC or the United States Colonial Marines, Wayland Yutani, and another faction in the Aliens universe is known as the Union of the Progressive Peoples, which is basically the old kind of Soviet bloc. So you could have this family be like they're researchers. Maybe they live with a synthetic who they've come to kind of adopt as family. So if you want to get a bishop type character in there, you could. You can introduce the idea of combat synthetics, which is in the comic books. It's in the lore. It's in the video games. There's a lot of cool possibilities here. And because this will be hopefully the idea with a lot of Star Trek stuff anyway, this is how I had one of the writers explain it to me. Certain things are considered canon until they aren't. And what they mean by that is if it's canon as long as it doesn't contradict something directly appearing on the screen. So there's alpha canon, which is movies, television, whatever, and then there's beta canon, which is like novels, comic books, video games, etc., etc. Certain series are better with it than others. Halo's a good example. Mass Effect's a good example. And Star Wars, they reference events that happened in the novels that happens in the latest sequel trilogy, though you really got to be a big nerd to find it. So I've got optimism for this. I mean, it's Disney money, so there's no way the suits are going to look like shit, considering how much the Marvel shows look good. They're bringing back this franchise. There's a new Predator movie in development. We've had leaked stuff come out about Neil Blomkamp's Alien. We got a video game coming out. The IP is hot right now. They just dropped a couple months ago the Aliens Colonial book, but it's only gone out to publishers. In fact, actually, as of this recording, I got my physical copy today. My God, this book is thick and heavy. It's kind of awesome. So it's a good time to be an Aliens fan. I even went out and bought my first NECA figure this week because I found a really cheap place. Caught some shit for buying it, but whatever. And it's just, I love Aliens, and I'm really looking forward to this.
I remember seeing those pictures you put on Facebook of your 2 NECA things and the individual who shall not be named, which I agree with a lot of his opinions, although I think sometimes he...
A little harsh, a little abrasive.
I have skinned my knees on broken glass that was less abrasive than this gentleman that we're speaking about, folks.
Yeah, which is amazing, because I greatly respect his opinion, too.
I have nothing but respect for it. It's just some days it's, dude, pull the stick all the way out. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
have
some joy.
Yeah, exactly. Let light back into your soul. I'm definitely looking forward to this too. Like, I remember my first contact with the Aliens franchise was my dad had this box of like paperbacks in the basement for years, and I before I ever watched the movies, I read Alien the movie novelization by Alan Dean Foster, which scared the piss out of me as a kid because I was all of like 11, 12 years old when I read that. Definitely looking forward to this. I'm not saying it's contingent on where it is in the timeline, but that may or may not either increase or decrease my desire to see the thing. And I was talking about this, if we're getting a live action series like this, Dark Horse, Black Sheep kind of hope I have now, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Remember how they wanted to do, like, there was that glut of R-rated movies turned into Saturday morning cartoons when we were kids.
Yeah, we had RoboCop, we had Rambo, we had the Karate Kid. We had some really weird prices, things. Hell, even the Toxic Avenger got one.
Yeah, I was going to say Karate Kid wasn't R-rated, my friend. I mean,
right, forgot.
Miyagi don't play, but he's not,
John Wick
Rambo.
People.
Yeah, exactly. You thought he was going to John Wick Sensei Kreese in the second movie there, but no, like there was that Aliens Marines cartoon that there's like a really shitty like commercial or something you can find on YouTube.
Actually, I looked into that. It's not real.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. So what happened is there were test shots done for something that was going to be potentially pitched, because those things I found like a rabbit hole YouTube channel and they were talking about it, but say technically it never existed. It was part of somebody's art portfolio. And they adapted some stuff. So it was weird. Like, again, I know what you mean, because I think Aliens actually would have made a pretty cool cartoon because they're giant bugs. The problem is you can't have chest bursters and face huggers on a kid's cartoon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they absorb stuff out of people and then they just randomly mutate into creatures, kind of like in that Evolution or Alienators Evolution Continues cartoon came after that movie in the early aughts there. Now, what I was talking about, folks, if you're not familiar with it, as Mike said, I guess it wasn't really planned. There was Aliens action figures in the early 90s that continued the story in an Elseworld sort of trajectory from Aliens. So you got Ripley and Hicks and Bishop and all our favorite Space Marines, and they were a roving band of kind of mercenaries that would go around and track down the xenomorphs and wipe them out. And you had like the bull xenomorph or the scorpion xenomorph and such like that. And I was like, maybe we could get something like that now with this series, Mike. Dear God, I mean that's like a 1 in a million shot, but we're getting an Aliens TV show in a couple of years, so I have hope.
Yeah, like now is a great time for a lot of crossover media. We're finally getting the stuff that we wanted as children brought to life with big ass budgets. We're not getting the Young Adventures of Indiana Jones. No, we're getting literal continuations of Marvel movies. We're getting an Aliens TV show. We're getting a cyberpunk anime. It's a fucking great time to be a nerd.
Yeah.
So on that note, we're going to take a break here on ThisWeekInGeek.net, and we're going to throw things to a joint review brought to you by the folks over at Paramount Home Entertainment. And we're going to take a look at that aforementioned Friday the 13th new box set that just came out, and we're going to talk about its strengths, its flaws, and a surprising opinion we have towards the end of it. So stay tuned to that. We'll be back, guys, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. We always appreciate you listening in.
There's a legend round here. A killer buried, but not dead. A curse on Crystal Lake. A death curse. Jason Voorhees' curse. They say he died as a boy, but he keeps coming back. Few have seen him and lived. Some have even tried to stop him. No one can.
Welcome back to the campers of Camp Crystal Lake. I hope you brought your swim trunks, because, hey, there's a maniac in the friggin' lake. That's right, it's I, Mike the Birdman, and we're going to be talking about the latest release from Paramount Home Entertainment. We're going to be taking a look at the latest release of the Friday the 13th movies, all coming to you in a convenient box set of the first 8 movies, along with digital copies of each. But I'm not alone as I trek into the woods where nothing could possibly go wrong.
Yes, Alex is here, still technically on vacation for a couple weeks, but this was a big release that came out, and we both got a copy to check out. So what better way than me being a casual fan and you being the super fan to discuss it?
Absolutely. So late last year, in the summer of last year and into October of last year, Shout Factory released this gigantic box set that was considered to be the definitive Friday the 13th experience with everything, one set. It cost an arm and a leg, which Jason would probably take.
Yeah, it's like $250 Canadian.
Although now it retails for about $170, so it's still quite the dip in the pool.
If you can find it, right?
Yeah, if you can find it, it's pretty easy if you know where to look. But point of the matter is, Paramount has decided to release these 8 movies again in a new box set to celebrate. Obviously, Friday the 13th is literally
This
as
weekend.
we record this, and having this in one convenient box set of the original Paramount releases, and that's important to note. You are not getting Jason Goes to Hell. You're not getting Jason X. You are not getting the remake from 2009.
Basically, the New Line pictures you're not getting because these are the original 8 that Paramount produced.
Yes. So everything that was done under Frank Mancuso Jr., this is what you are getting. So these movies, we're not going to talk about the movies themselves, except when it comes to technical details here. And the one that stuck out to me, this actually really surprised me, is Part 3. That's right, the one that's in 3D. There is no 3D option here, not for new 3D, which was on the Shout Factory release, or Paramount previously had released a 2D version you could watch with the old red and blue glasses, which I did for this.
Yeah, those are called anaglyph, which is the traditional method where you remember those 3D specs you used to see people wear.
Yeah, so that is not on this set, and that's important to note. Now, because Alex said I'm a super fan with this, I was comparing this against the Shout Factory release because Paramount does say these are new 4K scans of the first 4 movies, which are considered to be the first 4 in major series canon, introducing Tommy Jarvis, which before Jason becomes the super zombie.
Which had being late, early 80s films, these had traditionally been the roughest in picture quality. Yeah. So that is a key point that they did do a new scan in 4K for these.
Now, it's interesting because me and my friend Liam, who's another hardcore Jason fan, we watched Friday the 13th Part 4 back to back. We watched the Shout Factory release first because we assumed, and that's a key word here, you have to assume, we thought the Shout Factory release would be the superior one. We actually were kind of wrong. It seems like Paramount has gone in and done a little bit of touch-up work that I didn't quite expect. In some areas, the Paramount release does look a little bit better.
Yeah, upon looking at and being somebody who's a little more techie into the video production end of it, the Shout Factory release appears to have a little bit of digital noise reduction applied to reduce some of the grain noisiness, but that also makes a slightly blurrier image. The Paramount release is sharper, and there's a little bit, I think there's some tone mapping, a little bit of color correction done to bring out a little bit more of a saturated look. It's a little bit more vibrant, ever so slightly, in the Paramount release.
One thing I did notice too, I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100%, because literally I have to get into my wheelchair if I want to change a disc multiple times. And I'm pretty sure this release got some of the Shout Factory special features on it, but don't quote me on that. All the archival stuff that's been previously available is here too, and that's fantastic. I'm really glad they did choose to include stuff like that. That's important. But there is some stuff that will still be exclusive to the Shout Factory release because, like I said, $170. Yeah. But here, me and Alex were actually coming to a consensus. Who is this set for? Because if you're a hardcore fan...
I should note one more thing.
Yes.
It is an 8-movie set, but it's only a 6-disc release. The last 4 films are split into 2 and 2, so each on a single layer of a Blu-ray disc. Now, upon checking them out, they are pretty much full quality, and they are at parity with the Shout Factory releases. It is just the first 4 that have the brand new scan.
Yeah, it seems like those are the ones that were touched up the most.
And the digital copies, the digital copy of the first movie is the uncut version, where previously the cut or edited version was the only version available on iTunes.
Yes, so you are getting that as well. So me and Alex were talking, who is this release for? Is it for the casual fan? Is it for people who collect variations? Or is it for hardcore nuts only? And the answer is complicated. I think it's actually not a bad set for casual to introduce fans to it. And what I mean by that is you're getting the original Paramount run. You do not need to see past Jason 8 unless you really care about watching Jason blow up and be in different bodies. But you're getting those 8 movies on disc, but digital copies. In essence, you're paying for the digital copies more so than the discs here. And that's more convenient than I realized at first.
This is for the casual horror fan or somebody who's just starting a collection that is getting like a Christmas present, a birthday present. But when we looked up the pricing, you were initially on the fence about whether or not it was something that even the collectors would want. And if you want a digital copy of all of your films, you don't want them on the shelf all the time, having to pick them up. You were looking at $50 to purchase a combined box set digitally on iTunes, or $10 more at $60 retail, and you get all the digital copies plus physical copies of everything.
Yeah, like honestly, that's where this set kind of sits. So comfortably in the middle.
Even like some collectors that have the Shout Factory releases that want digital copies, they may just want to get the set to buy the digital copies, and then they have the discs they can give to, a brother or sister or friend or whatever.
Or they'll have slightly different scans and slightly different aspect ratios.
People that like different variations that way. It is cropped for your TV, but ever so slightly here. It's not noticeable. But again, the better picture quality might outbalance that too. So it's a complicated affair. I think it's a good release overall, though.
Yeah, for me, it's a good casual release. If you're a Jason fan, you probably already have the box set from last year, or you have the OG releases from Paramount that have been done previously. So your mileage will vary. But if you're a horror fan who doesn't want to spend a fortune to get someone into Jason, this is actually a pretty good idea for a gift.
Goody camp blood, ain't you?
God damn it, Ralph, get out of here. Go on, get. Leave people alone.
You'll never come back again.
Oh, shut up, Ralph.
Hey guys, welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net. He's JT from Saskatoon. I am not. I'm Mike the Birdman. Let's talk about the things that happened around the universe this past week. I got a couple of space stories, something weird, and why living in a cave may in fact be the best idea this world has had probably in a long time. So, first story comes of sci-fi.com. Confirmed a tiny nearby exoplanet with only 40% of Earth's mass. A planetary system just 35 light years away from Earth hosts 4, possibly 5 planets. This includes one, if it exists, that's squarely in the star's habitable zone, and another that's the lightest weight planet ever found using the radial velocity method. It has only 40% of Earth's mass, so that's pretty cool. The host star is a red dwarf called L9859, which is substantially smaller, cooler, and dimmer than our sun, shining only 1% as bright around our own star. 3 planets were already known to orbit it after discovered using the transit method, watching the stars dim by a fraction as a planet passes directly in front of it. This only works for systems that are almost exactly edge off as seen from Earth. Those planets were announced in 2019. Since then, the team of astronomers re-observed the star using various telescopes and to better characterize the planets. The transit method gives you the size of the planets. The bigger the planet, the more the star dims, since more of its face is blocked. But we really need the mass to understand the planets better. With the mass needed to get the density, mass less volume, which tells you roughly what the planet is made of. That really takes the radial velocity method. As the planet orbits the star, its gravity tugs on the star while the planet makes a big circle around the center of mass in the system. The star makes a smaller circle around it. That means for that half orbit, the star is headed towards us and half away from us. We can measure that using the Doppler shift, which I could demonstrate for you right now. So, for example, and I'm totally going to admit, I stole this from the Big Bang Theory. I know, blasphemy. So the Doppler effect is literally stuff that goes from left to right. Basically, if you want to see a good example of the Doppler effect in your real life, play any modern video game or watch any modern movie and listen as sound travels from one channel to the next. So from your front left speaker to your left rear speaker to your back rear speaker and all the way back to your front right speaker, and then eventually coming into the middle. So it's just the way sound and objects travel. So I don't know whether that's a good explanation of Doppler. That's how I was taught. So anyway, this is extremely difficult to do since the star's velocity is very small, but it's possible by breaking its light into a spectrum and carefully measuring the result. Further complicating things is that if there are several planets, there are multiple shifts on top of each other. However, the results are worth it. They were able to easily see the previously discovered planets named L9859b, C, and D in order outward from the star. But they also found strong evidence of a fourth planet called L985e and a hint of a fifth. And then it goes into a lot more science stuff. But it's pretty cool. Just the fact that we're finding more stuff and exoplanets. My sister, Katie, was a citizen scientist, and she helped discover some stuff for the Kepler telescope or the Kepler array a couple of years ago, and she was interviewed for a documentary. She's done some pretty cool shit. That's not her main area of study, though, but she's very, very, very knowledgeable on that stuff, and I do think that is kind of neat. So moving on to our next story, and it is yet another space story, though one you probably don't think of. A top Harvard astronomer is studying UFOs, thanks in part to the Pentagon report, which was declassified towards the end of June. Some peers dismissed him, but the government's UFO report and an out of the blue visit from a billionaire sent him on the hunt for something weird. A few days after the government released its report on UFOs, Avi Loeb got a call from a Harvard astronomy department that set off an unusual series of events. An administrative assistant informed Loeb, a professor of science at Harvard, that he was getting some new research money. And shortly after, a billionaire paid Loeb a visit on the front porch of his home to ask him about aliens. I've been in academia for about 40 years and been a department chair, Loeb said. Never have I seen a situation where a faculty member gets funding without looking for it and even meeting the donor. The hunt for UFOs, or what is now called unidentified aerial phenomena, is hot these days, but too hot for the halls of academia. Loeb is trying to change that. He is in a unique position of having both the credibility and the interest in applying real scientific method to what has long been the domain of pseudoscience and hucksters. His new Galileo project, named after the 17th century Italian astronomer, known for its use of telescopes and for the controversy he generated over his findings, plans to install a network of small telescopes around the globe to watch the skies in hopes of capturing a single high-resolution image of something as, quote, weird, as Loeb puts it. With the help of a number of other well-regarded astronomers who have signed on to volunteer their expertise, the project plans to use artificial intelligence to help filter out planes, drones, birds, and anything else not weird. It's a win-win proposition because even if we find something, these aerial phenomena are rare atmospheric effects that are not unexpected, we learn something new. He said, if there is something out there, we need to find out. There's never enough money to go around in science, and especially in a field like astronomy where experiments can cost billions because they require sending probes to space or building telescopes on remote mountaintops in the Chilean desert. But Loeb is quick to note that the relatively modest $1.75 million he's starting with comes from private sources, so he's not taking grant money that would otherwise go to, say, researching dark matter, a topic he quips is just as bizarre as aliens and far less relevant to daily human life. It's exactly the kind of research many have called for after the release of the Pentagon's intelligence report in June, which found the government could only explain one of the 144 encounters with unidentified flying objects reported by military pilots. Advocates like Loeb and others argue that the military and intelligence agencies have shown no interest in seriously investigating these phenomena and would not tell the public what they found even if they did. Loeb's interest in the subject has irritated the mainstream astronomy community despite broad public interest. A third of Americans thinks UFOs might be alien craft, according to Gallup. He first got excited about the topic in 2017 when astronomers discovered Onumera, pretty sure I'm fucking that name up, the first known interstellar object seen in our solar system, which looked and behaved in unusual ways. Loeb thought it could be some kind of extraterrestrial craft and made the case publicly in scientific journals. many media appearances, and a book, Extraterrestrial, The First Sign of Intelligent Life Beyond Earth, which came out earlier this year. Other astronomers and physicists called the work a shocking example of sensationalist, ill-motivated silence and an insult to honest scientific inquiry, and questioned whether he even believed his own theory or was just doing it for attention. Privately, some wondered if he'd lost his mind, was having a midlife crisis, or was just letting his ego and all the publicity get the best of him. But Loeb feels vindicated now that the Pentagon, NASA administrators, senators, former CIA directors, former President Barack Obama acknowledge they have seen things that can't be easily explained away. You have the cranks saying nonsense, then you have the scientists saying, see, you have all these people saying nonsense, therefore we should not engage. He said, I don't think staying ignorant is a good idea. Loeb said, Loeb can't be easily dismissed either. A rare scientist who has reached a position where he can afford to take risks and alienate peers, but still has research taken seriously. He's one of the country's best-known astronomers, was the longest-serving chairman of the astronomy department at Harvard, and has held prestigious appointments from the White House and top academic societies. Notably, Harvard is allowing Loeb to use its imprimatur for the Galileo project, though he said it took some convincing with what he plans to really do, just basic observational astronomy, looking through telescopes to understand the universe. And then the story's almost over. I was struck by the number of top-level astronomers and instrumentalists who said this was always something they were going to do, or they'd always thought about, but never thought they would get funding, he said. I even got emails from directors of centers saying, I agree with you, but I'm afraid to speak up. His funders include William Linton, the founder of a biotech company who's also at the forefront of researching potential uses for psilocybin, the drug found in magic mushrooms, to treat psychiatric issues. Billionaire Frank Lakin, or Locken, not sure, the founder of a company that makes complex scientific instruments. Why does science have to be boring? Loeb said. Here we are talking about a discovery that would change the history of humanity, so how dare we push it aside? And I could not agree more.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that you can't discount everything. Like, there's been too many sightings, there's been too much talk about it, and my case for believing in aliens is you're telling me in the history of the universe, which is billions of years old, that we are the only intelligent life out there. And even if we are not the only intelligent life out there, you're telling me we haven't been visited, maybe. Now, I don't know whether they're sticking probes up people's asses, but you follow enough of the community around this, and you start to see some really weird patterns. But at the same time, my belief, and JT, judge me from what you will, unless a UFO parks itself on the front lawn of the Pentagon or the White House, we will probably never get any definitive answers. I think if we were to get full disclosure of something, I think they might say in a news conference, hey guys, we're on Europa, we're on Mars, we're on Titan. We found microbes. So there is life in the universe, to which I would reply, well, no shit. Do the aliens have tabloid magazines? I couldn't tell you. Do they have flying aircraft? Maybe. Or, there's always the interesting question known as I think it's called the Fermi paradox. If we're alone in the universe, damn. If we're not, where is everybody? And there's questions like, are we an interstellar zoo? If there are aliens, do they not want to talk to us? Are we too warlike? There's so many possibilities on what could be. And my final thought on this will be, you'd have to be really ignorant not to believe in something out there. Even if you have a deeply held spiritual belief that, be it God or Buddha or whatever creation story you believe in, if you look at the majesty and scope of the universe, the observable universe alone, there's got to be something out there.
Yeah.
There has to be.
I mean, for
then
me,
again, are they coming to Earth and doing things to us? I couldn't tell you.
Well, I mean, first of all,
JT, your thoughts.
Well, first of all, Mike, for all that this talk of probing, either they actually got probed, or they had some really freaky sexual experiences they just can't process. Two, there's gotta be, like, the universe is way too big for our understanding of the universe to say, that there isn't life out there. Like, you can't say that with any more degree of certainty than I can say that there is life out there.
Yeah, like, we just don't know.
Exactly. So that bit there in the article says you have the crank saying nonsense, you have the scientist saying, see, all these people are talking nonsense, therefore we're not going to engage. That is just, like, honestly, the dumbest logic I've ever heard. I mean, okay, let's see, you're putting some actual valid critical scientific thought and diagnosis into researching these unidentified aerial phenomena. It's UFOs, asshole. It's unidentified flying object, and don't you fucking forget it.
Can you imagine? And he already said some billionaire gave him money. Can you, like, I know there's some Russian
oligarch
who put a bunch of money into private telescopes and all that shit. Like, can you imagine if someone like Elon Musk, for example, and I just picked the name out of a hat, if he literally gave an unlimited budget to some private, well-respected researchers like this dude from Harvard and said, find something.
Yeah.
If that was true,
mm-hmm.
that research would be destroyed, because if something exists, the government would cover it up so fast.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally going to be, and if, even, let's say that is what happened, like aliens, just devil's advocate. Let's say aliens exist and the governments all over the world are covering this shit up because human society just isn't ready. It's going to take something on the level of ID4, like Independence Day, all these ships popping over all these cities, like, hey, aliens exist. And there's still going to be some Tucker Carlson twit on Fox News saying it's all a hoax, it's a black bag operation, aliens don't exist, because some people just can't accept it. No, this kind of got me jazzed. Now, you look at how many, like, the basis of Stargate, like aliens building the pyramids, like aliens influencing human history, like we've seen it in the AVP movies, we've seen it in the Thor comic books and in the movies. Like, that's always been an idea that's really held a lot of interest for me. And now we've got this guy who, not exactly, but in my eyes, he's kind of playing the Reed Richards role of being like, let's discover what's out there.
Yeah.
And you think about doing research into, UFOs and the processes they could come up with, like in the process of investigating this, they could be potentially coming up with technologies which may have all sorts of useful applications in terms of air travel or vehicle construction or just computer processing. Like, the possibilities really are endless. And just the idea of somebody, an actual factual scientist, researching UFOs, like seriously, like trying to, he's playing being a professional skeptic, which is all well and good, but he's taking it seriously because let's find out what this is. And if not, now we know. Like, it's better to hope. I can't think of the exact words, but it's parallel to that conversation between Cap and Nick Fury in Winter Soldier, where Cap says, "This isn't safe. That's fear." It's let's look to the future. Let's hope. Let's question things, but let's try to learn at the same time. And I think ultimately that's the best thing to take away from this is this guy wants to go out and he wants to learn. He wants to improve our knowledge of our world through something that sounds kind of silly. And maybe we'll find a flying saucer full of gray aliens, or maybe it'll just be Alan Tudyk out for a Sunday drive. Who knows?
Yeah, we will have to wait and see, and hopefully the truth is out there.
Exactly.
So this story comes courtesy of The Hollywood Reporter. South Park creators strike a deal to buy Casa Bonita, restaurant featured on show. It just feels natural, Trey Parker said of snapping up the beloved Colorado restaurant. Trey Parker and Matt Stone are the proud owners of Casa Bonita, the beloved Colorado restaurant featured in South Park. The duo, who grew up in Colorado, were interviewed Friday by Governor Jared Polis, where they broke the news. Afterward, Parker told The Hollywood Reporter that the deal had closed that morning. "We bought it," he told The Hollywood Reporter. "It just feels natural. Financial details were not disclosed, but Parker called the final price tag fair." The duo struck a deal to buy the restaurant shortly after inking a 6-year, $935 million pact with Viacom CBS that included 14 streaming South Park movies. The company that owns Casa Bonita Summit Family Restaurants filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in Arizona on April 6th. The final sale is pending court approval, which will take months, Parker said. "If it were up to us, we would have people in there right now working on it," Parker said of the duo's plans to improve the iconic Mexican restaurant located at 6715 West Colfax Avenue in Lakewood. The enormous Mexican restaurant, which features an arcade, cave, and waterfall with cliff divers, among other attractions, opened in 1974. This is really just an exciting announcement, not only for the community, but for our entire state, Lakewood Mayor Adam Paul told The Hollywood Reporter. "There's been a lot of behind-the-scenes movement, and certainly these deals can be challenging. Not only will this help save an iconic landmark in Lakewood, but it will also prove catalytic change for the emerging arts district. I want to thank Trey and Matt for the commitment to the community." Parker and Stone broke the news they were after the restaurant in July, a beloved childhood location for Parker and Stone. Casa Bonita has received several mentions in South Park and was even the focus of a classic 2003 episode. Casa Bonita was also featured in the 2017 video game South Park: The Fractured Butthole as part of the DLC content, which Michael Jackson's the final boss in that one. It's weird. I think this is cool. I love it when creators go out of their way to do something for their community, because maybe it was featured in their show, and there's talk they're going to make another South Park game. They're going to make their own South Park version of weed, which I hope that's available in Canada, because if I could get some Towley edibles, I'd totally be down for that.
Oh, Jesus.
But yeah, I mean, that's cool. I like the fact they got this almost $1 billion. Let's give something back to the community. And people are going to go to Casa Bonita in our age range, because we grew up with this show, and it's going to be like the South Park
Mecca.
Yeah. Like there's going to be so much cool shit there. It's going to be, my guess is it will be the South Park version of Avengers Campus. There's going to be South Park shit integrated in as much as it can be. There's going to be, my guess is they're probably going to keep it PG-13.
Oh yeah.
Because they're going to want the family stuff. Like, it's not going to be a bar/restaurant. If I had to guess, my guess is they'll still keep the family thing, but they'll have a South Park motif to it. But either way, it's going to draw tourists.
Oh yeah. I mean, I wouldn't call it Avengers Campus. This is like Planet Cartman,
Yeah.
And you know what would be so great is when you have an entrance and you have an exit, and when you go out the exit, every time somebody opens the door, "Screw you guys, I'm going home."
Yeah, like I imagine they'll have people in giant costumes. Like, it's going to be
like a
cool.
Mickey Mouse, except it's Cartman and Kenny.
Yeah, or they'll have people dressed up on certain days. Like, if they could have like, I don't know, the superheroes version. Like, if I could have Captain Coon, the Coon, and whatever Jimmy's character was, or
Professor Chaos.
Yeah, Butters. That's what I meant, Butters. Yeah, like you could have some real fun with this. But again, content of the show. We'll see what happens. Either way, I think it's great.
Yeah. This, I didn't even know this was real. Like, I did not know Casa Bonita was real. I thought that was just something from the show.
Yeah, because it sounds so ridiculous. A cliff diving restaurant. Yeah, sure.
Which also one of my favorite moments in South. Was it worth it, son? Totally.
All right, so this last story comes courtesy of JT. He was able to find this last night. So this story comes courtesy of ladbible.com. Doctors discover man has lived 60 years with half his brain. A 60-year-old retired Russian engineer has baffled doctors after they discovered he had lived his whole life with only half a brain. While you might think that might limit you, wait a second. This story's from 2019.
Yeah, I was like, I
guess I wasn't super clear in my instructions, but that is okay. It's actually kind of funny, just to break character for a moment. Occasionally when we gather weird news, we look at the date, but we don't always look at the year. This has happened to me less than 5 times on this show, but it does happen.
Yeah.
So
I found the link here, Mike. I'll put it in the chat here. Ooh, breaking the fourth wall, folks.
Yep. Live production as it happens.
Yeah. That you said, I was like, that is not the article that I posted, sir.
Yeah, it was weird. So as soon as JT posts it to me, I will read it directly. I'll just pull it up on the iPad, which is how I typically read most of my stories.
There we go.
Okay, so let's try that again. As soon as it fucking
fuck it,
open.
we'll do it live.
Exactly. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Open up, asshole. Oh my God, why? Okay, I got it. I think, maybe. Take that, you motherfucker. Okay. Let's try that again.
I love doing this show.
Man who's lived in cave for 20 years gets COVID jab after learning about pandemic. Imagine leading a life so simple you've never heard of COVID. The dream, right? Well, it's actually a reality for Panta Petrovic, and that's because he lives in a cave. Some could say he's literally living under a rock. The 70-year-old retreated to the unusual house for a quieter life and therefore never knew about the pandemic until he made one of his rare visits to his hometown of Pirat in southern Serbia. After seeing the havoc coronavirus was causing, Panta knew he was going to have to get jabbed as soon as he could. Speaking to AFP, he explained, if the virus does not pick, it will come here to my cave too. Claiming he doesn't understand the fuss that those who are choosing not to have the vaccine make, he added, I want to get all 3 doses, including the extra one. I urge every citizen to get vaccinated, every single one of them. Petrovic, who gets by on welfare as well as food donations and supplies for the animals he owns, explains why he left his hometown he once lived in. I was not free in the city, he said. There was always someone in your way. You either argue with your wife, neighbors, or the police. Here, nobody is harassing me. The elderly man worked as a laborer before deciding to relocate to the cave. Now he spends his days searching for leftover food from bins. As well as this, he goes fishing at the local creek and eats mostly mushrooms. Petrovic's home is only accessible by a steep climb, which probably explains why he doesn't get away much. Instead, he has a rusty old bathtub, which he uses as a toilet, or 2 for 1. Some benches, a stack of hay, which he sleeps on. Before moving away, Petrovic donated any money he had to fund the construction of 3 small bridges in town. He said, money is cursed. It spoils people. I think nothing can corrupt a human like money. Wow.
This dude is the shit.
Yeah, that's intense. I mean, to do that, to recognize there's a public health crisis, and he's like, okay, sure, fine, whatever. Don't want to die. Yeah, and obviously everybody is sick of hearing about COVID. And I say it during my outros. Please get vaccinated. Just do it. If not for yourself, for somebody else. Like, be selfless as much as you can. I've seen so much push in the last 2 weeks by people saying, look, if you don't believe in the science, if you don't want to get vaccinated, don't talk to me. Get lost. There's a friend of mine that I know who has a baby in hospital, and they can't get an ICU bed in their home state. They have to go over to a neighboring state because all the ICU beds are full. And that's all I really want to say because there's too much more identifying information. But stuff like that is terrifying.
Yeah.
And my sister-in-law, Kara, works in healthcare. We didn't see her for a very, very, very long time because she's constantly around it. She only would visit my mother-in-law, Marie, because she's like, okay, I get my rapid COVID testing every other day. I'm vaccinated. Regardless, she's very, very well kept in her circle. And she didn't see me and Blair for a while because I'm immunocompromised. So's Blair. All it takes is one fucking mistake. So I'm obviously pro-vax. I'm fully Moderna up. No, I think I'm Pfizer, actually. I'm not sure.
Getting my second dose on Monday.
Yeah, I'm now fully vaxxed as of Saturday. So happy to be out in about. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this edition of the Nerd News this week. Sorry to show you a technical glitch, but that's how it is here on the show. So anyway, we will talk to you guys again soon. But before we do, we're gonna take a jaunt down the street here, and we're gonna take a walk into our favorite neighborhood eatery because we're poor and sadistic. This is the return of Satan's Pantry. We'll be back, guys, right after this to close out the show.
Welcome to hell. You wouldn't even serve it to a pig. It's inedible.
Welcome back to Satan's Pantry. Unfortunately closed during the pandemic due to reduced staff, but we're back.
Reduced staff, and also we ran out of cookbooks to talk about at one point.
Yeah, we did. Just because, that's about the time I started going through the weight loss search. I'm thinking, well, I can't eat this. It's too many calories. Now, these are the first Satan's Pantries that are not supplied by Jen, our good friend in the States who sent us fucking squid cookies or whatever.
Party like it's 2018.
That's right. So Alex and my wife Blair had a chance to go visit some different local stores.
I wanted banh mi so bad, Vietnamese subs, and I hadn't had it in like a year and a half. And it's right next to a supermarket that gets a lot of the import Lay's and stuff flavors that we don't get here in small personal size bags, so we can each try a little bit. And I went, oh, they have 3 flavors I have never heard of.
Yeah, so we're going to bring this segment back. We're going to use this to occasionally replace a review during the show, or just if, here's something weird before the show ends. So yeah, welcome back to Satan's Pantry. We're going to kick things off. And Alex, why don't you introduce our first victim?
Well, it's Lay's.
It's a blue bag.
It's a blue bag, and it has weird things in the front. I was like, what is this? I didn't even want to read it at first. So, but it does have a sticker on the back. It is Lay's chestnut flavor.
Weird.
I think it's a product of China. Maybe, maybe not. But I'll have to put the mic down while I open her up, and I'll give her a sniff.
Yeah, all right.
And then I don't want to let you have a sniff because you might get turned off.
No, I'll do it. I will be as authentic as you.
Oh, it's the hard one to tear. There we go. Open her up. Crinkle, crinkle, ASMR. Oh. All right, I'm taking one big one, and it looks like a salt and vinegar chip, but with red flecks on it, like something strange.
Okay, so I've got the bag now from Alex.
Yeah,
so
I would say
I'm taking a nice big
I
deep whiff. It smells not unpleasant. It's very earthy, very much like walking into a hardware store that's adjacent to a bakery.
Yeah, I
Right.
see what you mean with that.
Yeah.
So you're gonna grab one. I would say we don't recommend grabbing a handful of things because it's Lay's. It's not. It's not going to make you. Well, it could.
The
make
quality of chip is good. The flavors are another thing.
Yeah.
So
down the hatch.
Yep.
I don't like.
It's not. I could not imagine eating more than a handful.
Okay, that one's going like garbage.
Oh, yeah, there's the aftertaste. Holy shit.
Okay, put that bag down.
Oh. Oh.
Wash your mouth out.
Yep. Hello, G Fuel. Thank Christ.
It tastes like I licked gym shorts. It
You
doesn't.
know what it is? It's chestnuts. I think I just gave oral to fucking Pinocchio. This is terrible. This is terrible tasting. Oh my god. It's stuck to my teeth.
A wood job.
I'm using my fingers to scrub my teeth.
So Lay's is half and half generally, whether it's good or bad. This is not a good Lay's.
No, this is terrible.
This
oh my
one
god.
you should avoid. I don't think anybody would like the flavor of this.
No. Honestly, this is the second worst flavor of Lay's I've ever had. The worst being maple mousse from like a million years ago.
Yeah, that was sickening to the scent.
Oh.
So I guess if you see it in the store, this is one to avoid.
Yeah, it's the color of toothpaste. If you see this bag, avoid it. And anybody tries to sell it to you, punch them repeatedly.
I really don't like it.
Oh my god, that's terrible. So, with that out of the way, we'll catch you guys back here on the show.
That is fucking disgusting.
Yeah, I feel like doing a cartwheel out of here.
Oh, fucking hell.
All right, guys. Well, that is the kind of show it has been here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. Big thanks to JT for coming out this week and hosting the show with me. So a little bit of behind the scenes there. We had some technical problems, as you heard when we were reading the last story, but we also had some other stuff. So if I'm lucky and the editing catches it, I got it. But now we're going through a different kind of emergency. For those of you that don't know, I'm diabetic. My sugar's dropping like a stone, and I'm actually kind of trying hard to stay awake and focused here. So hopefully I'm not dying on air. This is, I think, the third time this has happened to me. And my wife says I'm not dying, so I'm going to take her word for it.
Well, you can't die, because then you would make Wiley sad, and you would never make Wiley sad, Mike.
That's very true. It's very true. I can't leave my poor Dr. PP. So coming up on the site this week, I'm working more with Aaron Paulier for Future Imperfect. We have recorded Future Imperfects on the RoboCop franchise. We also talked about the Trancers sci-fi franchise from Full Moon. We are recording one on Battletech, which had some technical problems, but now is finally worked out. We're going to talk about the Aliens franchise. We also have another loose cannon where we finally take a look at Plan 9 from Outer Space. Darlene's going to join us from Earth vs. Soup. And we're also going to take a look at the movie Ed Wood, which I've never seen. So we got a bunch of cool stuff coming up on the site this week. I know Alex has a Turd or Treasure coming out rather soon. I got a couple of reviews in there for him. Next week on the show, I should have a review of the Aliens Colonial Marines Handbook from Free League Publishing and a Dungeons and Dragons book, which involves the faraway mist-filled world of Ravenloft. So I'll be talking about that and more. Me and JT will be doing a Twig Sunday Funnies this month on The Suicide Squad, which you can catch at your local movie theater. I think you can buy it on VOD right now.
Yeah.
So
never before have I felt so... never before has a character spoken to me as deeply as King Shark. You know,
Word.
Just hand. You
Yes.
have no idea why that. I don't know why that made me smile so much.
Yeah, that scene with Amanda Waller. Yes. No way. That is your hand.
Or
very good.
Bird.
I love.
No way. Stay off the comms.
Yeah, like there's so much interplay between Viola Davis and King Shark in that one scene. It's beautiful. Even though it's in the trailer, it's amazing. There's so many other King Shark moments you'll appreciate. So go see it, folks. It's fantastic fun. So yeah, that's going to do it for us here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. Once again, big thanks to JT for taking time out of his busy day. I appreciate it, man. I really do.
Always happy to help.
All right, guys. So like I said, keep it locked to ThisWeekInGeek.net for more great geek content. I should have a review of Jupiter Hell coming out, which is a roguelike, I think, starring friend of the show, Mark Meir, so Commander Shepard himself. And I'm sure if you follow my Twitter account at BirdmanDodd, you've seen endless pictures of the Mass Effect Legendary Trilogy. God, I love photo mode. So until next time, we have been
JT from Saskatoon.
I've been Mike the Birdman saying, be excellent to each other, get vaccinated, and most of all, folks, be cool, be safe. We'll talk to you guys again next week, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.